Dr. Cece Leung, she is an associate professor, program chair of hospitality management at the Kansas State University. Where is the heck is this country? Prior to appointment at Kansas State, she spent 9 years at UNT, University of North Texas, and built more than a decade of professional experience in event, tourism, and revenue management, with a role both US and China. She currently serves an associate editor of Tourism Review, it's quite good journal, and Journal of Hospitality Management, impact factor 7.8, wow. And also serve on the editorial board for 9 leading hospitality and tourism journal. I believe you are quite busy for supporting those journals. She achieved 17 research award. Okay, good. Published over 100 articles. Out of 109 articles, she published at SSCI Level Link Journal and delivered 76 presentations and secured 14 grants. She has been named on the world top 2% scientist by the Stanford University 2 consecutive years. Great. Okay. Okay, Stace goes to you, and please share your material, and seminar start.
Yeah, let me share my screen. Picture, I think I did wrong
Okay.
thing. Wait, give me one more second.
Okay, sure. Good.
Yeah, can you see the presentation?
Good. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good morning, students. So here is nighttime, it's 8 p.m. and yeah, but good morning to all of you. Although it's late time here, but I'm happy to meet with all of you and talking about some of my research. This is kind of a line of research in my pile, focusing on the robot and especially from the employee side of the robot, how robot employee likes to work with robot. So I'm gonna looking at both employees' collaboration with robot and also the leadership, what leaders need to do to help employees adopt robots. So Professor Ku already talked a little bit about me, introduced me. So I don't think I need to talk much more here. This is a brief overview of myself from education, industry experience, and teaching. Oh, I think I didn't put in my bio my education. I got both my bachelor and master from Peking University. And at UNT, and now I'm moving to. So it's a bit change here because UNT is in a big city. It's in Dallas Fort Worth. It's a very big city. It has direct flight to Seoul quite often. So a lot of Korean population in there, a big metropolitan area. But here in Manhattan, you know, our town's name is Manhattan. So it's
Really?
same as New York, Manhattan, but we call ourselves Little Apple.
Okay.
It's a very, very tiny town. It's like driving 15 minutes from east to the west, 15 minutes from north to the south. So it's a bit change for me to adapt to a new, very small rural environment.
Okay.
But anyway.
So you're from starting from Peking University in Beijing, the
Yes.
large metropolitan city, and went to medium-sized city, Nevada, and then you as going to the very small town. So, okay.
Yeah, I mean, scaling down, right?
Okay. Okay. Good for
Anyway,
your life.
yeah, just I mean, it's work. So wherever work brings me, I'm going with somewhere. But anyway, I came here in July. So far, so good. Like the people here. Yeah, so in the US, probably it's different because when you go to a more rural area, people are more friendly. But in big city, people are kind of colder and they are not as friendly. But in rural area, people are so willing to help you,
Mm,
no matter they know you or not.
mm,
So it's still good, pretty
mm.
good living here. Anyway,
Okay.
my some of my research experience here, the scholar, Google Scholar citation over 6,000.
Mm,
That's pretty recent. And then Professor Ku also introduced the two journals I'm associate editor with. Both of them are SSCI, well established. So if you have any high quality paper, welcome to
mm,
submit.
mm,
And both of them has pretty short turnaround time and like the 30 days, the first decision usually. So if you are in a hurry, looking for graduation, then please try these two journals.
mm,
So today's talk is going to be focusing on robot. So that's part of our smart technology, a big part of it. And so I'm going to start with the background, robot in hospitality. And then I'm going to introduce you to four of the studies I've done in this field, all all looking at from the employee or from the human resource side, the how the hotels or restaurants are adapting robots.
mm,
So study one looking at the robot characteristics, how that different, how like what kind of a robot employee prefer, and then study two looking at the job design. So when you adopt a robot, how you design the job so the employees will be more likely to use them. And then study three, looking at the negative side. So what things go wrong? So what if things go wrong? And then what kind of the negative impact a robot would bring to the employee and workforce? And study four is a little bit up level. So looking at the leadership. So it's proposing a new leadership scale, uh, not scale, a paradigm, leadership paradigm. So how this new leadership needs to have what kind of characteristics they need to have to help their employees to better adopting robot or generate these kind of the human robot harmony in the workplace. And then at the end, I'm going to kind of summarize all the studies, practical implications together. So give you an overview of what industry needs to do, a guideline for the industry, what they need to do toward the robot workers. And then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about future research directions. So if you have any questions during my presentation, feel free to just let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions, or at the end, you can also leave the question to the end and I can answer them as well. So first of all, as we all see, robots, the use of robots in the hospitality industry is growing. And no matter you are going to hotels or restaurants or airports or even going to some of the attractions, you can see robots everywhere. Like, I mean, in the Asian countries, probably the robot adoption is way ahead of in the US. Like this summer, I went back to China. No matter which hotel I stay, they always have a robot like this in the picture. They do use robots for room service. So if I order any like the food delivery and stuff, people are so used to robots. So they know how to use the robot, entering my room number, and the robot will bring food to me. So the food delivery guy will use it in the lobby. And also the hotel front desk people use this kind of robot if I ask for a towel or a shampoo or something. So it's everywhere. And then there are robot restaurants, like in the restaurant, robot will carry food to a table, bring drinks and stuff. And also in the airport, I know, even, I mean, in the Seoul airport, I mean, there is a robot, I believe. I remember when I fly there, there's a robot in the airport. It's more for kind of like information, right? So it's like you ask questions, you ask directions, stuff like that. So there are different types of robot, but you can see so many robots in the hospitality industry. So there's a statistic says that service robot is now consists of 25% of workforce in the hospitality industry. So employees out of 4 employees, you're gonna see one as robot. That's pretty amazing, right? Shocking. And then there's also another industry report said that the hospitality robot market is growing very fast at almost 30% annual growth rate from 2025, 0.7 billion until 2029 will be about $2 billion. That's a huge market. So why does our industry or hospitality industry adopt robots? There are different reasons. In the United States, the biggest reason is labor shortage. I'm not sure if it's true for China because they have so many labors. It's more probably for convenience or maybe for their brand image to be more modern and attractive. But for the United States, a labor shortage is the main reason behind why we adopt robots. There is a statistic from American Hotel and Lodging Association that found that 80% of the hotels in the US, they have some kind of the labor shortage. So here, labor is expensive, and also people don't want to work in the hotels. That's the reality because of the low pay, long work hours, and emotional labor. So there's always labor shortage here, and then the robot is kind of an alternative when you can't hire anyone. So to help. And the operational efficiency is probably more behind the reason why Asian countries adopt a robot. So, for example, those room deliveries, you can just send robots so many times a day. But if you ask the front desk to go up and down, up and down, up and down, it's gonna stretch out people. So, operational efficiency is another reason. Enhanced guest experience. When the robot just started, people are so exciting because they found these things new and interesting, and it's just some new stuff like they have never experienced in the hospitality industry, and they would love to experience. The last factor is more after COVID, post-COVID, and one of my study will show that because one of my studies is conducted during COVID period. So we put into the COVID factor into consideration. So the last factor is the contactless service and some because after COVID, people are more concerned about their safety, and they don't want people to don't want to have those close contact with employees, human employees. But robot to them is gonna be safety is more safe.
Okay,
So
Cece,
that's all. Yes.
uh, I I got a question about this dimensions of adopting uh, the robots.
Yes.
It's very legitimate and very reasonable to look at the labor shortage and operational and enhance the experience
Hmm.
and the safety.
Hmm.
Uh, but one more things I'm suggesting to the academia and the researchers and you these days due to the ChatGPT and the robot together. I think that Android robot with ChatGPT human-like conversation and
Mm-hmm.
interact with me, and people feel like the robot with ChatGPT conversation is give me the comfortable and the friendship, something like that. That means someday people usually travel alone or attending conference you know is quite different from the family trip. So probably
Mm-hmm.
robot and with AI conversation that giving the very good companionship and the friendship while we are attending a conference and in a hotel room. So we say that is enhance the guest experience, but it's
Mm-hmm.
in more uh, a different perspective. Like, okay, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm not isolated from other people. So it's kind of comfortableness or sense of belongings with robotics. So what do you think about that point?
Uh, That's a very good point. Thank you for bringing it up. It's more like using robot as more like an emotional support, maybe. So I think
Mhm,
a lot of chatbot is kind of go toward that direction. For
mhm,
example, when you stay in hotel, like especially like when I went to China, in the hotel they have those kind of chatbot, like the Amazon Alexa. People use
mhm,
them at home or Google Home. They use a different one in China using, I mean, supported by Baidu because they don't use Google or Amazon,
mhm,
whatever. But anyway, I think those are stuff that you can talk to them, just like you let you to feel, oh, you are not alone in this room. So
mhm,
you can make conversations.
mhm,
One thing I did notice is
mhm,
nowadays, I believe that AI is not smart enough, I would
mhm,
say, anyway, behind that
mhm,
chatbot. So
mhm,
it's not, it cannot continue those or start those conversation as you are being with a human being.
mhm,
So when my son and I stayed in a hotel room, he was very interested in talking with them because he wants to practice his Chinese.
mhm,
He's really bad at Chinese. I'm sorry. Mandarin is his Mandarin
mhm,
is really bad. He's fluent in Cantonese and English, but his Mandarin is super bad. So he's afraid practicing in front of people, but he's fine with robots, so he was practicing. But
mhm,
then we were asking the robot, oh, whether you are a girl or boy, and then they couldn't answer that question. And then there's some questions that it's hard for them to understand and answer as a person. So I do think there's I mean, the artificial intelligence or
mhm.
those generative AI needs to be improved. But in the future, I do think that's a good point as an emotional support. I really agree with you.
Yes, yes, definitely. We are feel lonely, and okay, I need a company, or I need a friends when I book the hotel by myself, and I probably just like checking out the wireless connection or
Hmm.
or or parking lot, uh, provisions, something like that. If the hotels provide a robot with Android, like a chatbot together,
Hmm.
and I check that robot attendance and conversation with the robot, turn on the robot, and hey, I returning to hotel room, and I talked with that robot, and okay, I'm feel good.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you.
Okay, okay, good.
So moving on, there are different types of robots we used in the hospitality industry. I want to bring this on because one of my studies I interested it was studying in different types.
Mm,
Like we have the concierge robots, like the answering questions. We have the delivery robots. This can also be used in hotels. This one looks like delivering a package. You have cleaning robots. This is like iBot. We even like here in we a lot of Americans they have this in their family to clean carpets. And then hotels can definitely also use them too. And then food service used in the restaurant, and we even have guest interaction engagement. So this needs to be equipped by AI, right? ChatGPT or generative AI.
Hmm.
So robots and human employees, there are two sides they see from the robots. One side is seeing the robot as their helper or collaborators. The other side is they see the robot as a substitute or competitors. So that impacts their attitude, reactions toward the robot. So that's where our study come from. So we have four studies here in this presentation, but mainly the first three are all looking at how employee view and react to service robot, and the last one is going one step up, looking at the leadership. So the first study we look at, so I do have the QR codes here, so this links to our published paper. This study looked at what type of robot do hotel frontline employee prefer. And then we compare two different types. One is the butler, we call it butler, but it's basically doing room service. And the other one is we call concierge. That's the robot that IBM developed to answering questions, interact with guests. So maybe this one can be, I think IBM used those complicated AI technology to support this robot so they can have some conversations like human employees at front desk. So the basic logic is to consider these two robots from a technology affordance perspective. So for the room delivery robot, room service robot, it is belong to what we call physical affordance because that it offers more like a physical help going to the room, deliver stuff. So all these are physical jobs. So they kind of replace the physical jobs. But for the concierge robot, we call it as cognitive affordance because they are not doing any labor work. They are just talking and answering questions. So it's more like a cognitive a replacement of cognitive labor or what people thinking and talking. So the research framework here is based on mainly based on the technology affordance theory. So that says that if the technology offers different affordance to help people perform functions or tasks, and different affordance will provide different advantage. So what we have here is we compare two different types, the physical versus cognitive affordance. And the hypothesis, first hypothesis says that we believe that a physical affordance hotel frontline employees are more likely to collaborate with or use those physical affordance robot more than those cognitive robot. And then we have the mediation effect would be goes through because we saw the physical robot provide higher relative advantage, and that builds trust. And then we add in another factor because this study was collected before, during, and after COVID. So it has a little bit length in data collection spread. And then so we considered a moderator here as guess the COVID-19 compliance. During the COVID-19, if you are looking at the hospitality industry, hospitality workers were very, very scared because they are contacting with so many people all day long. What if those people come in without masks? What if those people want to get close to them less than 2 feet? So those are the factors we add in there here as yes, they are complying, and then no, they are not complying. So we think this will add in effect to this main effect. And then another on top of that, we also considering the personal cultural value. So whether a person is more collectivist or a person is more like an individualist. So our common understanding is like the Western country are more individualism, and the Eastern countries, like Asian countries, are more collectivism, right? So we want to see whether collectivism or individualism will have an impact on this acceptance of robot types. So that's the basic research framework and hypothesis. And then we conducted 4 studies. These are kind of our stimuli. Let me see this. So we let them watch 2 videos. We don't need to watch videos. I just want to show you what they look like. So this is the video I created, so that gives the viewer an idea. Okay, this is how this robot works in the hotel. And then another one is this is the concierge. We already see it. But I give them 2 brief videos so that way it helps them understand, because the first study was conducted quite early and it was before COVID. So when was before COVID? 2019. Yeah, so first study was conducted 2019. And
Okay.
at that time, I mean, service robot was not that commonly used in hotels. So we did give them 2 videos to help them visualize how they can use them. And then the third study was conducted during the COVID, so like around 2020. So these are the pictures we show them. So these 2 would be kind of like a non-compliance, see how close it is, and then no mask. And then these 2 would be kind of like a compliance, so with masks and keep some 2 feet distance. So we did 4 studies, all using same stimuli. And then the first one is conducted pre-COVID. We collected with prospective in hospitality employees. And then study 2 was during the COVID, collected with prospective employees. So when I say prospective employees, I used students, hospitality students. They are future employees, right? And then and then study 3 is current employees. So these are sending out using those survey platforms to current hospitality employees. And these 2 are conducted during COVID. And then the last one was conducted post-COVID. So it's after like 2022-ish. So
that's why your paper was rejected from me in tourism management. You submitting to this paper to tourism management, I read and I reject because you use students for measuring that questionnaire. So I reject it because it is not real.
you read this paper? I didn't know. I mean, you remember for so long?
Just kidding.
But I think we did submit it to I don't know if we submitted to tourism management, to be honest. And we probably submitted somewhere else. But anyway, this paper is published in IJHM, but it went through a very long process, and we had to conduct an additional study during kind of revision 2 or revision 3, because they keep saying using videos are not very good for experimental controls. So after this study, this was kind of one of my early studies. After this study, I never used videos because videos are very hard to control other factors.
Okay.
So we did a study 4 at revision 2 or 3 to tell them after controlling all this, that the effect is still the main effect is still there. So we did that study 4 to kind of respond to some of the comments. Anyway.
Okay.
So we're looking at all these hypotheses, and hypothesis 1 is looking at whether the employees prefer physical affordance to the cognitive affordance. So basically, they like to use those room delivery, room service robot more than using those concierge robot. And it's supported across all 4 studies. And then you can see this. These are all the mean scores. One thing I really want to point out, and it's very interesting, is this study 1 is before COVID. Study 2, 3, 4 is all during and after COVID. And you can see a significant increase over time, especially from before COVID and after COVID. We even did t-test and find out it's significant. So the employees' willingness to use robot did increase after the COVID happened. So that's a very interesting thing. Anyway, and then the mediation effect, we use the process to test. This is a serial mediation effect. So that means the physical affordance robot will increase the relative advantage, has more relative advantage, and build more trust. So that makes the employees to accept them more. And it's also supported across all 3 studies. One thing we found was rejected is the generally speaking, the COVID non-compliance and COVID compliance. There's no difference between these 2 situations, whether they use robot or not, whether they want to use more robot or not. And we are thinking maybe it's because the stimuli was not created as effectively. So that doesn't look like there's any workers there, so they probably couldn't envision themselves in the picture. So that's probably the reason. But we did find significant interact between the robot affordance and COVID compliance. And both studies are supporting, and I'll show you interaction next page. And the COVID compliance also goes through the series mediation effect. So when guests not compliant with the COVID restrictions, then it increased the COVID threats, and then it decreased the trust, and then it makes so it increased and actually it increased the trust with using the robot, and then it increases the usage intention. So also we find the for the college value, it also significantly moderates the COVID affordance. So all 3 studies supporting that low collectivism, they prefer physical robot versus cognitive robot. So that means those people with high individualism, then they will have preference. But for people who have high cognitivism, they don't have preference. They just generally do whatever you tell them to do. So these are the 2 interaction or moderations we have. The first one here, so this is the collectivism scale. So the higher, it means the people are more collectivist. And then the lower will mean that people are more individualist. So then you can see, so for high collectivism, then they just don't care. They just accept, or they will do whatever you tell them to do. They will collaborate with robot. But for high individualism, they will prefer that robots give them more help. So that's room service robot. They have a preference. And this one is the interaction between non-compliance, compliance, COVID compliance, and the service type. So basically, if people are non-compliant, then they just like to use robot more. And then if they are compliant, then people don't care whether there's a concierge or not. So for concierge, there's a difference. And for room service, it's consistently high.
So here's my question. Back to the result. So which means the collectivism, like China, the most collectivism country, they just accept the robot service from the company demand. Like a company order to use the robot service for your staff, and they accept. But however, like United States, quite the individualism country, and they are more proactively giving the question why I have to adopt this uh, room service robot or concierge service robot on behalf of my task. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct
Okay.
interpretation. So yes, and
Okay.
and that's another reason why like robots is
Uh,
not widely adopted here in
uh,
hotels or restaurants
uh,
because there's a lot of pushback from the
uh,
employee side. And
okay.
here, employees are stronger. They have unions.
Uh,
So when unions say you can't do it, and then the
uh,
owners can't do anything.
okay.
So, and then in the Asian country, people are more collectivism. So have more collectivism. So, oh, you tell them you have to do this, then they'll do it.
That's that's why the Steve Jobs he mentioned that's why he built a factory in the China because of that unions and when he introduced first iPhone and the
Mhm,
iPhone actually the covering with the plastic and
mhm,
suddenly he realized the plastic is a scratching, so he wanted to
mhm,
change the plastic from plastic to the glass. But
mhm,
and then at night he demanded that change it to Chinese factory in Foxconn technology, and then they wake the Chinese labor up in the midnight and giving the biscuit and the coffee and then tell them, hey, changing from plastic to the glass. And they do it the job at night. So that, and then Steve Jobs, he said, okay, that's why we need a Chinese company, not the American company. If we are asking to do that in American company, that's the terrible, situation, and they reject everything because they're labor unions. So it's a collectivism country is your country.
Yeah, but I mean, in a lot of Asian countries are like that because
Okay.
of our education from the
Okay.
childhood. We are
Uh,
taught like, oh, you have to collaborate with people. You want to like listen to most of yeah, like what other people are saying or whatever. So
I see.
anyway,
Mhm. Okay,
yeah.
next result. Okay, this one.
Oh,
Okay,
this one.
this one. You said here complacence and non-complacence, and there is a statistically difference
Hmm.
in cognitive
Hmm.
situation,
Hmm.
cognitive, right?
Yes,
Wh-
yes, cognitive
why
robot. Yes.
particularly you found out that the statistically difference on this part, cognitive, not the physical.
So I think it's because this is again this data was collected during the COVID. So if the people is
Mm,
non-compliant and then go to the front desk and ask you something, you don't want people to talk to you without masks and then close
mm,
to you. So they when people are non-compliant, they tend to, oh, okay, I'm gonna use robot in both
mm,
cases, no
mhm.
matter they are threatening my job or not. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's very COVID kind of COVID specific situation. If we
Uh-huh.
do it right now, we may get a different result. But
Uh-huh.
again, that's during the COVID, and you have to do studies very quickly, right? Okay, when
Uh-huh.
COVID happens, do COVID, and then when COVID is end, nobody's gonna publish COVID anymore.
Okay, I see. So when we use a robot and that if compliance with me, that could be okay, but if not comply with my job task, that that it is it this is a collaborating intention, right?
Oh, this compliance means the COVID compliance, COVID
I see.
restriction
I see.
compliance.
I
So
see.
that's what we tested in this study. So
Mhm.
whether the guests they wear mask or
Mhm.
keep the safe distance,
Mhm.
that is what compliance mean. And the
Okay.
non-compliance means they are not wearing mask. They are very close. They stand very close to you, not keeping safe distance. So
Okay.
that's this study specific, looking at the COVID thing, COVID
Okay.
compliance.
Mhm. I got it. Thank you.
Okay. So some quick results, quick kind of overview of so employees, they prefer the room service robot to the concierge robot. And then we saw that the collective visits, they're more likely to accept a robot, whatever type it is. And individualists would have a preference. They want something that will help them. That's physical robot. And then more relative advantages and less COVID threats will lead to high trust, and that will lead to higher usage intention. And then we also find the COVID-19, because when we compare before and after, it did increase the acceptance of the robots for even from the employee side. Let's move on to the second one. In this one, we're looking at job design. So it's still working with robots. So this one on top of the robots characteristic, we also look at how do we design robots in the job flow that will help the employees to be more likely to use robot. So for this one, we're looking at the robot human likeness, and then like last one, we kind of look at the robot function. This one, we look at the appearance, right? So there is a theory or a concept very famous in this human likeliness, and to describe the robot human likeliness. It's called uncanny valley. So that if you look at this line, it shows kind of like when the human likeness increase, you have whether you will like this robot, getting more and more like the robot, but at some point, then your the affinity toward the robot will drop. So you will dislike the robot, and then it will go up again. So there is this area is called uncanny valley. So that means people will have different, that's kind of implies that people has different attitude toward robots because of their appearance. So that's kind of behind our design or thinking. So the main independent variable here is looking at the robot human likeness. So we picked non-humanoid robot versus humanoid robot, two different types. And then we're looking at which one people are more likely to use them in workplace, okay? So from the consumer side, there are a lot of studies already on this robot likeness, and you'll see the results is totally different. And I'm quite surprised anyway after I did this. And then we also looking at the mediators that's based on job demand resource theory. So we look at the institute work motivation and the stress. Both are the mediators between the human likeness and the collaboration intention. So the two studies, so that's study one. Study two, looking at the task interdependence. So we designed a scenario where the robot has to work together with human to perform a task. Well, that's the task interdependence high. And then the other scenario is robot and human, they work separately, both completing the same task, but they work totally separately. So that's task independent. So that's interdependence, no. And then the study three, we looking at a different factor model as moderator, that's role clarification. So we will say, okay, the managers will tell you what you and robot are doing. And then when it is absent is, okay, the manager just throw robot at you and don't tell you anything, that there's no role clarification. So both of them are from the job design perspective. And I think this one is wrong, but I forgot. I went back to my publication and found this picture is wrong. These two are the same, but they should be different. Anyway, so the three pictures are the ones we used in three studies. So non-humanoid, humanoid, non-humanoid, humanoid, and this is non-humanoid, this is humanoid. So there are I think these two are hotel situation. This one is restaurant situation. And task interdependency. So the first one is high. So it will be robot take order, robot deliver food, and then people will check back and process payment. And then the second one, this is a wrong picture. Anyway, the second one would be okay, robot will do everything and the human will do everything. So robot will take care of table 1, 2, 3, and the human will take care of table 4, 5, 6, something like that. So they are totally independent. Then role clarification is either absent, no explanation, and then present, give some detailed instructions.
Okay.
So that's the scenarios. And then we look at the results again. Hypothesis 1, we find that non-humanoid robot is actually lead to higher collaboration intention. So employees, they prefer non-humanoid robots. I know a lot of consumer studies, they found out customers, guests, they prefer more humanoid robot because they like those kind of their to them it feels like more like an interaction with humans. But then from the employee side, they prefer non-humanoid because that gives them less stress.
Okay. So you mean consumers are likely to likely to collaborate with humanoid robot, which means human-like looks. But the employee side, they don't want the kind of featuring face. It's rather they are task performance and kind of reducing their jobs or increasing their productivity, something like that. So, which means as the employee side, they don't care their as robot appearance versus consumers, they more like human-like conversation and interaction with the humans, even though they're robot. Is that right?
From employee side, they like non-humanoid robots.
Yes, non-humanoid.
Yeah, and then from customer side, they like humanoid robots more. So yeah, so there is a conflict.
That's very interesting point. When we adopt a robot in our job task. So in front desk, definitely we put the robot in Android robot in front desk, and back office we put the robot in the just box or robotic stuff rather than facially humans.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's probably more for a consumer experience. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so this hypothesis 1 is supported across all three studies, and then you can see humanoid, non-humanoid robots that usage intention is consistently higher than humanoid usage intention, which is like around 5 or is it 3.5 versus okay. So all P's are significant. And then both mediations are significant. So human likeness will go through either intrinsic work motivation or job stress to mediate the collaboration intention. The only exception is in this situation. This is the only restaurant situation. So study 1, 3, both are hotel situation. Study 2 situation, we find that the mediation effect is not significant. So we think it's probably because in the restaurant situation, the employees are thinking a little differently. And then both moderators are supported, so both interactions are significant, and then we can see the interactions here. So the first one right here is the task interdependence. So the top one is low interdependence. So that means you and robot are totally separate, doing different jobs. That is what in kind of employees, that's when the employees like a non-humanoid over the humanoid. But when you and employees has to kind of split the task doing the same job, then either one they don't like. So this both of them are kind of low. So it seems like people want to employees they want to have clear lines between their task and robots' task. One thinking behind it might be, okay, what if robots has some service failure? Then I don't want to get blamed. So that's something that employees would have afraid of when they are doing a task split between them and the robot. Then who's going to be responsible for the service failure? Definitely not robot, right? You can't do anything with the robot, but you can blame an employee.
So
And
this is high to high. So regardless of non-humanoid and humanoid,
this is low,
the
low. Both are low. And then this is high.
this is a high. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
When I say high is high interdependence. So
High
high
interdependence.
interdependence.
Okay, high interdependence means non-humanoid, humanoid doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
High interdependence is quite low collaboration intention because it's a complexity and something, the error happens to me is quite responsible I have to take, right? But if the job is low interdependence, then low here, then non-humanoid is okay. I take it, I use it, right? So
Yes.
there's quite a significant difference between low and high interdependence when non-humanoid looks, right?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. And then the other interaction here we have is role clarification. So it looks like it's also quite interesting because when the role clarification is absent, so when your boss didn't say anything about the robot, then it looks like right here. So for the non-humanoid, then people prefer, okay, so don't tell me anything, right? So, but for humanoid, they want more clear guidance. So it's like, oh, so they're probably treating non-humanoid as a tool that, okay, I can use this as a tool. But for humanoid, they are more treating them as a co-worker. So I want a clear role, what I'm gonna do, what this guy is gonna do.
Okay. That's exactly, I just published the last week about AI. We seeing AI as a human or seeing as a machine. So if consumers see the AI as a machine, as they are look forward to receiving very clear and transparent information. But if somebody see the AI as a human, then they are much giving the endurance and something okay, it happened to be okay, I take your error or something like that. So if the humanoid here, that means we are much uh, interest and highly sensitive to work with the humanoid robot. So we have to keep in very clear clarification of their role for humanoid robot.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
So this is
that's
also a very interesting results.
yes, right. Okay.
Yeah, which probably worth a future probe. I don't know, but this is just what we did in this study. A little summary would be okay. Employees they prefer non-humanoid, so something like more like machine than people, and then they prefer a lower level of interdependence. So I guess it should be a lower level of interdependence, so that they want the task to be separate, and then. The role clarification can increase the willingness to work with the humanoid service robot. But for non-humanoid, again, you don't need those role clarification. You just use it as a tool. So the next study is looking basically more looking at the negative side. The past two studies, we're looking at whether they are willing to working with robot. And then this is more a paper in progress. We are still in the revision process. Oh my God, IGHM is so slow now. Oh, so slow. I'm glad I don't need okay, I don't need any paper to publish for my kind of performance review or anything, but it's not good for PhD students who's needing this paper find a job. Anyway. Yeah, so this one we're looking at employees' workplace objectification. So when we use robot in the workplace, how does that affect workers' well-being? Okay, so oh my God. Yeah. So so again, this study is also looking at the human likeness, but the dependent variable is different. So looking at the objectification, but the independent variable is anthropomorphism, which is the same thing, human likeliness. And we applied three different theories. So first, the work objectification is how you treat others at the workplace. So you are treating your coworkers as tools, then treating them as humans. That is workplace objectification. So that's a bad thing. It will kind of it will make your workplace culture go away, and you don't feel like working is like a family feeling. So it's just like going to work and use a bunch of tools, not talking to people or interaction, stuff like that. So we are proposing that when the robots are more like humans, so the anthropomorphism is high, so it's more humanoid, then versus non-humanoid, then it will increase the workplace objectification. So when you face more threat from the robot, you will be, okay, I have some negative feelings. I want to spread out my negative feelings. And the mediator here is the intergroup threat theory. We use the intergroup threat theory, and then we use the threat as the mediator. So we are thinking, okay, when a robot looks more like a human, then it will give me some identity threat. It increase the perceived threat, and then it will reduce the employee's sense of control and then increase their workplace objectification. So some two of the moderators in this relationship, one is role theory. So we looking at whether we tell them, okay, this robot is your helper, or this robot will be a substituter, whether this will moderate this relationship. And another moderator have here is the self-affirmation. So self-affirmation is something a person can practice during their daily life. Like you help yourself build up your self efficiency. So you always tell yourself, oh, I'm the best. So kind of like a building yourself, self-affirmation. You're always thinking, okay, I'm doing this thing right. I'm the best. I'm always doing this. I'm always the better than anyone else. So that's self-affirmation. So self-affirmation also, we propose it moderates that effect, the mediation effect. So again, these are this is the model, and then how many studies did we do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's the 6 studies. We did study 1AB and study 2AB, study 3 and study 4. So 1 questionnaire and then 5 experiments. So 3 experiments are online, 2 experiments are kind of in-person experiments, or just going to the workplace and then using those employees as our respondent.
Here's my question. Why didn't use a three-way interaction between this one, this one, this one? Because through your scenario, like a robot anthroponism if high,
Mm-hmm.
and then probably people, okay, human-like looks or human-like conversation, that means robot high. Then I
Mm-hmm.
feel like, okay, that can be a substitute or helper to me when I feel I'm so strongly believe my what I'm who I am. So I'm formations. So if think myself, I'm strong, enough to dealing with that kind of a robot service. Okay, then I can handle it and I can control it. That doesn't matter with help or substitute. So
Mm-hmm.
that can be a three-way interaction. Is that
Yeah,
right?
you're right. There might be.
Okay.
We did not test it. Usually, I don't like three-way interaction because the result is pretty messy.
Yes, right.
When it's two-way interaction, it's just one kind of like either it's gonna be the bar chart or line
Uh-huh.
chart. But a three-way, you need two charts to explain it, and it's a lot of explanation. It's just a little bit messy. So I usually like simple stuff. So I would
Uh-huh.
rather do two studies on two-way interaction instead of do one study on three-way interaction. It's just my way to doing things, but I don't think it's wrong to do three-way interaction. Just I did one
Mm,
in another study looking at the hotel so whether employees prefer like what kind of the identity of their they prefer for their manager or supervisor. Do they like male or female? Do they like gay or straight people? Do they like Hispanic or white? So that's why I did a three-way interaction. And
mm,
then yeah, it's okay. It's
mm.
just that sometimes I like it to be more clean.
Okay.
But it's definitely fine to do three-way interaction. Thank you for the
Just
question.
question for you.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I did that in some of my studies too.
Okay. Okay.
So the first one is doing a straight questionnaire. We're looking at currently the employees they are using the robot in the workplace. We let them do a survey to rate the robot they're using. What are the anthropomorphism level of that robot? And then we asked them to rate their workplace objectification, and we did a regression. So the first one is not an experiment, it's a straight regression. And then we find a significant relationship, so support H1. From the second one, we are all, this is 1B anyway. So we're all doing the experiment. So these are the two kind of picture scenario we are using. So this one is low anthropomorphism, so non-humanoid, and then this one is high anthropomorphism. And then we did look, and then if we look at the t-test, the result is supported. So the high humanoid robot will have the generate high workplace objectification. And then the study two, we use the same stimuli, but then we're testing this mediation, which is supported. The H1 is also supported. So it looks like the anthropomorphism, they go through this perceived threat. So it increase the perceived threat and then increase the workplace objectification. And then study two, we used a restaurant setting. So looking at, okay, this is low, this is high anthropomorphism. And then the main effect is again supported. And then the mediation effect is also supported. And then study three is looking at the robot role. So again, like here is kind of an explanation of what the robot is doing. So this says providing powerful assistance. And then the next one will say completely replacement of hotel attendants. So this one would be substitutes condition, and this one would be the assistant or helper condition. Uh, so we used the model 7 to because this one we only proposed the moderated mediation. So it looks like the mediation is significantly higher when they are viewed as a substitute. So when it is substitute, they feel higher threat, and then that way they will generate higher objectification, which is very common sense or makes sense. And then the next one, we looking at the moderate mediation of self-affirmation. And self-affirmation is kind of like a writing task or and then write something like, okay, so important. And then, so this is a manipulation we got from the literature anyway. And then this is and then this is the same restaurant setting robot stimuli we used. And then we tested the moderated mediation. So when when employees practice self-affirmation, that there is no indirect effect. Well, when they are not practicing, then they will feel threat. So again, you want them to practice self-affirmation. That way they won't feel the difference or they won't be against that humanoid robot. So that's again all the study, all the hypothesis got supported, and
I I
the
got, I got a question for the result before. Yeah, before.
one.
Okay, this one. Your research result here. Look, the plus significantly the anthropomorphism is perceived threat and workplace object objective
Mm-hmm,
action, right? But
mm-hmm,
when you feel confidence, yes,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
then that is a minus impact. Is that right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That means
Yes.
if I feel myself confidence about the job, then I
Mm-hmm,
don't feel any threat
mm-hmm.
from robot anthropomorphism. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right explanation. Yes.
Okay, good. So
Yes.
people who are feel confidence about my job, okay, this is my job. I can do handle the
Uh-huh.
job. Whatever things comes to me, I'm okay. But you if you feel I feel okay, I'm so afraid. I'm so concerned. The robot comes to me and take my job and job take my job out of from me. Then feel self-optimism is low,
Mm-hmm,
zero. That
mm-hmm,
is probably severely affect
mm-hmm.
within the perceived threat and the robot anthropomorphism.
Yes.
Okay, see.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Very, very good understanding. Yeah, but as the first time to see this, I mean, this is hard to interpret. Yeah.
It's a very good paper. Like
Thank you.
very good paper. Like a
Thank you. This one is
self-optimism
still in the
training.
revision process. And again, IGHM is just so
Mm,
slow. Anyway,
uh-huh.
but I like to do experiment because it helps me to get to some interesting findings.
Yes, yes.
Mhm. So some of the practical implication here is again same as my last study. You want the employees like to adopt the service robot with low and anthropomorphism because the high anthropomorphism will increase their workplace objectification, which makes them bad well-being, right? Bad results. And then you want to position them as helper rather than replacement. And you also want to integrate some of those self-affirmation trainings for employees. Okay, so that's all about employees. We did a lot of employees, negative results, robot characteristic, job design. So this is a new paper we recently published it's a concept paper looking at the hospitality leadership at this new circumstance when we facing a lot of human robot co-working situation. And again, the QR code is here if you are interested. So first of all, we kind of reviewed the current hospitality leadership styles. So there are four common or popular hospitality leadership styles existing right now: servant, transformational, empowering, ethical. So they all have different characteristics, but we want to look at, okay, how we can, or is this leadership good enough to be applied in this human-robot collaboration workplace? So for example, the servant leadership, it emphasizes that, okay, leaders need to be kind of serving the employees. So you need to prioritize your employee needs and support their growth and do some emotional support. So the limitation here is it doesn't have any like a technology side of the adoption of the robot labor. The questions not solved here is, okay, how do those employees they can effectively leverage those robot labors? So again, emotional is one side, but technical is the other side. For transformational leadership, we see that, okay, the limitation is the vision-driven. This is a very vision-driven leadership. It does not equip those employees for proactive collaboration with robot systems. And then for empowering leadership, so it's looking at the two players, only the employers and employees. It doesn't consider the robot as the third players, so there's no this dynamic relationship there. An ethical one, because when you have the robot in this workplace, there are new ethical challenges emerging or coming up, and this leadership fails to address that as well. So we propose this new leadership framework. We call it RAPAR leadership because it needs to achieve this human-robot co-working harmony. So that's the goal. And we used the three theories to propose this framework and some of the three propositions. So first is we're looking at the organizational changing theory. So there is a new situation now. Human and robot, they need to have this kind of the co-working. They need to coexist in the workplace. So when the organizational change, when there's organizational characteristic change, then there's a need for new kind of leadership. So that's what basically that theory is. So we're looking at like, okay, so from robot side, or we call it cobot, from robot side, there are different functions, different appearance, and how to control their autonomy. So the different function and different appearance, we're already looking at them in the past 3 studies. So they will impact whether the employees want to use them or not, right? And then for the employees, human employees, how they think about robot and how they communicate, that's very important in this forming this co-work harmony. So both of them require this new leadership. And based on the contingent theories, the contingent theory said leadership needs to consider 4 factors: task structure, leader-member relationship, position power, and employee readiness. So based on this contingent theory, considering this new situation, we point out 4 factors or 4 components of this new leadership. That's including how to adapt to this new human-robot co-working situation. So that's including, first is technology um, at agility, right? Agility. And then, so this is means the in leadership itself needs to react quickly to the technology change, and they would be able to bring the change back and educate their employees about the change. And the second is emotional assurance. So again, this new situation will bring some emotional disturbance to the workforce, and then how leaders can help them to avoid or combat with all these emotional turbulence. And then the dynamic authority is to looking at this three-way interactions between robot. So between the robot, their employees, and the leadership. So there are different ways that I should have got that chart here, but I forgot. So there are different power models in this three-way relationship. So one is kind of like a centralized model. So from leader to employee and cobot. And then there's a shared power. So leader goes to employee and the employee controls robot. And then there's kind of like a distributed power as well. Sorry. And then the shared power would be leader, control robot, and employee, but employee also has a control over robot. And then there's a collaborative triad. So that's go through three-way interaction. So that's the dynamic authority about. And then the last one is kind of like the flexible adaptability. So it needs the employees needs to be the leaders need to be more flexible and looking at whether employees tech skill high or low, or looking at whether your company needs more robot deployment high or low, and choosing your different leadership skills. So that's, let me share that article. So I should have probably doing that. Yeah, I forgot to. I
Okay.
put that in. So this is the one I just talked about, the power models. So there are different power models. And then this is the one that flexible roles. So based on the employee's tech skill, high or low, and then in your company, whether you have a lot of robots or you have very low deployment of robots. So this would be kind of like Amazon, they're like they use robot a lot in their factory and stuff. And then so if your employees' tech skill is high and then there's a lot of robots, so the leader's role is more like participating. And then if your employees skill is high, but there's one or two robots, so that's delegating. So you let the employee do their thing, let them control the robot. And then if their tech skill is low and there's very few robots, then you just direct them what you need to do or not. And then if the robot deployment is high and the skill is low, then you have to coach them. You have to spend more time to teach them what to do. So that's flexible roles. Should have put them there. But anyway, and then that's and then at the end, it's kind of like a leadership paradigm change. So we are thinking, okay, so there are 4 different challenges introduced by the cobot. So that's technological, psychological, social, and ethical. And all of them can be solved by these different, by the changes of these from existing leadership to the new leadership, what we call rapport leadership. Okay, so a brief summary. And so that's kind of like summarize all of the studies we talked today. So the employees, they like physical help more than cognitive help. And then for the appearance, they like non-humanoid, then humanoid. For the robot roles, they like them to be helper, then the substitute. For the job design, they like the task to be independent instead of the task to be crossover and interdependent. And for the communication, role clarity is important when you do a humanoid robot, but it is not important when you use a non-humanoid robot. And then employee characteristics, okay, you want your employee to be more collectivism than individualism if you want to deploy a lot of robots. And some of the leadership implications here, again, that's the four components of the leadership. So for the first one is technological agility. And then that's how you train your staff for digital literacy. And then you want to pilot those robot interaction. Emotional assurance is to communicate to them, okay, robot is your help here. It's never going to replace you. And then the dynamic authority is to kind of like, okay, what are your roles here in this three-way relationship? So is the employees that control the robot, or the leaders control robot, or both of them control? So whose accountability? And then flexible adaptability is to thinking about your company's a company's characteristics, or which level you are, how you design the robots. Do you deploy a lot of robots? Are your employee ready for the robot? And based on this, change your leadership scale. Some of the future research directions. If you look at the literature in the robot, and you can see most of them are from the consumer side. So what consumer likes, and how consumers adopt the robot and stuff. So from the employee side is still less than from consumer side. I won't say limited, but it's definitely less than consumer side. So again, from industry speaking, they really want to understand what their employees thinking, and because the employees are the ones who are using robots, so if they buy the robot and employees are not using them, that's going to be a waste. So anyway, so some of the future research directions here. One of the things is, what about the longitudinal designs of the post adoption? So 1 week, right after adopt, and then 6 months, 1 year. So see how that affect their attitude or their thinkings of robot. And robot implications in job design, I did looking at some of the factors here, like the task interdependence or the role clarification, but there are more things in the job design, so that there are more things to explore. And also the well-being is a very important topic. That's it. Any
Okay,
questions?
very good.
Thank
I
you.
have two questions and a comment on your work. Can you go back to slide the conceptual model,
Yes.
your contingency model? Okay, this one. It's quite interesting and quite the abstract level study, and for conceptualize the between robot and the human employee, how we interaction and making formulate our relationship with the robot and the humans. And in this case, just one thing I suggest, the contingency is which is good theory, and we can apply that interaction and that change of situation to another situation. Uh, the but what do you think about that? Another good theory like a constructivism, and that which is a constructivism is formulating something the situation suitable
Mhm.
between two parts. So I wrote a paper with my colleague about how the smart tourism can be realized based on constructivism theory.
Okay.
So I suggest to take a look at constructivism for your research, how we build up the relationship with the robot and the human uh, employees. There is the comment on your this paper. Second is so far you are quite greatly progressing the research outcome in in the organizational level and employee context, which is quite necessary at this moment. But I think it's time to think about how emotional aspect of a robot can be manipulated in the job situation. Something the next slide you're only focusing on cognitive and job performance situation. But the people are perceive the robot as a human or as or machine, and the people are much talking about the emotional side. So which is facial coverage or just looking like okay, I like I'm an Asian consumers. I want to discuss with Asian employee and I'm something like that. That means if robot is still very robotic interaction with cognitive processing uh, to deal with the functional level, but now its functional level is going well, and then means beyond the functional level, we need something social level and social interaction and asset, I mean, aesthetic level or beauty, something like that. People are much more keen on the robotics, which more beautiful, more aesthetic, design. That is another aspect of the even employee side. That's my, you know, two cents tip for you.
Those
That's
are
it.
so good, and thank you so much. And I really especially like that emotional side. I think that's something
Mm,
for future, right? Future
mm,
direction that's
mhm,
really
mhm,
yeah, important
mhm,
and
mhm,
interesting
mhm,
and industry relevant. And I
okay,
love it. And
right.
I'll definitely look into the theory, the constructive. So
Mhm,
I think I heard that theory and I'll read the theory before. So yeah, I'll
mhm,
look into it too.
mhm.
Thank you so much for your comments.
Okay, another one is people are, step level and manager level, that can be
Mhm.
very different to react toward the robot adoption. Like
Mhm.
step level is, we are afraid a robot come to me and
Mhm.
replacing my job.
Mhm.
So we're scary about that. But managers level, they think about the efficiency and productivity and effectiveness. Okay, managers level probably they think about, oh, I'm going to adopt a robot for increasing their job
Mhm.
performance or efficiency. So the role of job clarity, okay, not just a matter of that concise or complexity or simple. It's both
Mhm.
matter of that leadership or authority and autonomy. So if I'm a top level manager or at least the upper level managers, I'm a quite right to do something that probably robot as a as a tool for replacing staff. That means I think I'm think about positively and adopt a robot for my job context. But staff
Mhm.
probably all they come to me and occupy my job.
Mhm.
So that's quite afraid of scary stuff. So that's another issue for job context. This is my opinion for this work.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm continuing this
Mm,
study, I mean this area and doing more study on because right now it's not just robot, it's like
Mhm.
all the studies I have showed here are more robots. So like the ones like with hand, with legs, but there's like the artificial intelligence is more than robot. It could
Mhm.
be those
That's
chatbot or
right.
like
That's right.
just those web chat
Mhm.
box. So
Mhm.
those can all be
Mhm.
adopted in, and many of them have been already adopted. So those
Mhm.
are the things I'm actually continuing looking at as well to how those things will impact the workforce.
Mhm. So their contingency rebel is quite changeable from just a functional robot to the AI
Mhm.
android robot. So AI android
Mhm.
robot is a human-like conversation. And what if that android robot with a aesthetic, design and talk
Mhm.
like my friends? That
Mhm.
is quite a phenomenon. So we
Mhm.
have to think about, okay, how can I design job, structure and area with Android AI conversation. That is
Mhm.
a totally different story from, functional level robotics. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, students, it's time to you. And if you have any question for her, you may start. Any questions? Going, PhD students for your life to Cece Leung, Kansas State University, which is good school. You may try to contact her. Okay.
Yeah, if there's any, do you have any master students right now? We are opening for the PhD student applications.
Yes, yes.
We will, yeah, we will, I mean, admit another PhD student next year, and we have some assistantship as well. So if
Okay.
you look at our, I mean, a school website,
Yes.
our PhD program
Hmm. Hmm.
has a very good history
Hmm.
and has a good reputation. We have graduates working in a lot of like U.S. institutions, like at UNT. My colleague was graduated from Kansas State University. We have like in almost
Hmm.
every single one. Yeah, we have a lot of graduates,
Okay.
PhD. Yeah.
Hmm. So it's a great chance to talk with her about your future. Uh,
Yeah, please, if you are interested in PhD program, let me know.